Hey there, it's Tricia with Easy Emini Trade, and I wanted to go over the setups for Wednesday and Thursday of last week. You already received a video for Tuesday, and we don't trade on Fridays, so Wednesday and Thursday I'll give you the rest of the week. If you have any questions, you can send me an email. If you have any questions about the setups, send me an email. And if you want more info on the setups, go to www.easyemintrade.com. So what you're looking at is the NQ on Wednesday the 10th. Let's just make sure, yep, I got the right one up. And for the opening range, it sets up for a short, and we take it short. And if you use the Fibonacci price projection tool, it actually hit the first target, actually first two targets. So once in, it's just going to depend on how you manage it. That honestly is the most difficult part of that trade, is how you're going to manage it once you're in. So it's set up for a short. It does require a larger stop. Typically what I've been doing is I've been requiring at least a 4.5 point minimum opening range in order for me to be interested, because if it's too small, you run the risk of it immediately stopping you out. So some people are using smaller amounts. Some people don't have a minimum requirement. Some people have a larger requirement. So it's up to you. So this didn't fit my personal criteria for me to take it because the range was too small, but it worked out nonetheless. So we had some news at 10. It's not something that typically moves the market, but you have to decide what, again, you're going to do around news. There are no cookie cutter answers for everybody's personal individual trading plan. You just have to decide and figure out what works best for you. At 10:26 we get a 3 Amigo here. Prior to that, we're just going sideways. There's not really much to do. If you're going to take a kaboom setup, you have to make sure that you've got room up to resistance or down to support if it's going sideways. Otherwise, just pass, because you're going to wind up with nothing or really small targets. So nothing really for me to do here because it doesn't meet any of my criteria. This yellow line in the middle here is the close from the previous day. Like I said, here at 10:26 we get a 3 Amigo, and it works out just fine. Nothing much going on after that. You could have opted to take it in the opposite direction off resistance if you wanted to. That's not something that I would be interested in at that point anyway. But if you wanted to do it, you could have looked at the close area as the area that price would likely get to and hold, because it held here. Actually, we did a range trade buy right here at 10:51, buy it off support. And what we watch for is if you've got a repeatable support and resistance area and things are quiet, you can, in this example that I'm showing you here, we bought when the stochastic got above 20, and we were hanging out at the support area, hoping to at least get our 2 points out of it. And the added bonus would be if it kept going. I don't look for it to find its way back up to resistance, and realistically I wouldn't use this area. I would use more in line with this area, because that's the area that held. So if it could get through the moving average from our broader view, then that would likely be, the next target. But I don't sit in it waiting to get to those areas. If I'm doing a range trade, I'll just take my target of 2 points and be happy about it. Then it is lunchtime, and so I won't go over lunch. Let's just find where we are here. Alrighty, so we come back from lunch at 1:30, and we're in a downtrend and going sideways. So we need to either have room up to resistance or down to support if we're going to do range trades, and we're kind of all over the place there. Here at 2:47, we do get a 3 Amigo setting up, and I take it, but instead of using my first target of 2 points, I actually used just a little bit less. And the reason I did that was we've got this area here to our left which had held and held and held and held. You can see it, how often it held. So what was going through my mind is if we hit that area again and it holds, then I want to be able to get a profit out of it. So I shot for a little bit less on that. Now typically we don't worry about support or resistance on the NQ when we're doing the Amigos, but in the afternoon, if the volume's light, you might want to pay a little closer attention to it. And interestingly enough, both the Amigos, this Amigo and the one from the morning that set up, you actually had a counter channel set up right at the same time. And then we're pretty quiet, up to 3:30. And I wouldn't recommend doing range trades toward the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, because you want to do range trades when it's quiet. Okay. Okay, and this is Thursday the 11th. And so we get an opening range that fits my criteria. It sets up for a short, so I take it for a short. And again, how you choose to manage it once you're in, that will be up to you. That's, like I said, the hard part. So short works out well for the range trade. Here we get a 3 Amigo buy setup, and this actually was a loser for me. Now, when you look to the left here, like I was saying, on the NQ, we typically don't worry about support or resistance when we're getting the 3 Amigo set up because it generally will bust through everything. So here you look to the left and we've got the high of the previous day. That's what this green line is. And you can see how often it had held that area. It held here off the open, tried and failed here, it held here, it held here. So what goes through my mind is I'll give this at least one shot in this area, and if it fails, then I'll have to wait for price to break out above that area before I'm willing to try it again. So I take it, it fails, so now I'm not willing to try it again should it set up as a buy under that resistance area. And I would do the same thing if it had an area of let's say support that kept hitting and holding, hitting and holding, hitting and holding. I would give it at least one shot to the downside, and if it failed, then I would wait to get through it, because usually the NQ doesn't disappoint that often in getting through those areas. Okay, so loser there at 10.15 for the 3 Amigo. 10.17 we actually take a pullback entry. You can see price breaks through support and then pulls back to our moving average here, and this is where we got in at 11.17 under that bar there. And you'd be looking at realistically the 50% retracement area as the area where you might get hung up, and then if you can get through that, then you'd be looking at the floor trader pivot point. If you want a little more info on pullbacks, just go to my website, and there's a video that's on there that's been there forever. It's on just pullbacks. A lot of people have trouble with those, so I leave it there. So you can check that out, and hopefully you'll find that helpful. And then we come back from lunch. This move had already occurred before we got back. You could have opted to take it as a counter channel setup. Let's see, looks like right there. However, when you look to the left, you've got this area that had been holding here and here. So I would pass on that as a counter channel setup. Even though it worked out, I'd pass on it until it got through that area. So once through, then you can look for a pullback, which we don't really get until here. And at that point, by the time everything's in line to take it, we're already almost down to the support area here at 11.25. But if you were trading during lunch, you may have opted for that, or you could always look for it to pull back to the counter channel area. Like here, it pulls back to the moving average, but it gets you right back to that support area, so I wouldn't be interested in that. This is the low of the previous day, this orange. So ideally, you'd want to have room to that, or get in under that area. So not much else really in the afternoon to do on Thursday, unless you were trading after 3:30 maybe, but that is it for me. So I hope that helps going over these setups each day, and you can be more aggressive and take many more setups, or you can be more conservative. It's totally up to you. Okay, so have a great day.